Hello, good evening. Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. How's everyone doing? Happy Monday night. I'm actually not feeling fabulous, so I'm just hoping that analysis is not too terrible, and there you go. So I'm looking at a chart of Bitcoin against the US dollar. I'm using a Bitstamp chart, not because they have the highest volume, but they have the most trading history, which I like. And I'm going to put, here we are, going, I think I called it a high and tight flag. If you saw this in a stock market, you get quite excited because this usually, when you see this kind of pattern of providing it doesn't break lower, breaks to the upside in a strong uptrend. And there's lots to like about why we could go higher from here. We are holding sideways above the 200-day moving average. If I put fib retraces on from the high from the 26th of June 2019 to the low here in December, you can see that the low of our range is this 38.2 fib. So we're holding above it. The problem is it's kind of a real sticky zone, isn't it? These highs here, this is where we're really trapped in between. These lows here, these highs. You can see that that's the low. So from this high, so this is our sticky zone. And last time when we were here back in October, I think we spent like 10 days, almost 2 weeks in this zone. So it could be that we get stuck here for a while. That's the bad news. The good news is that that's really good for alts at the moment. Alts are absolutely ripping. So I've got two scenarios for Bitcoin. I'm staying bullish. I think that we'll either hold here and then eventually people will give up and the shorts will give up and we'll carry on higher. And we'll carry on to the 50% from this high to low next because we've been respecting each of these fib levels in turn. And that's at 10,152. Oh, Miguel says the brave new index coin has a bit more history. Okay, I'll check that out. So that's one reason why I think we go higher. The other reason I think we go higher, if I move this out and I put the fibs on from this high to this low here, and if you read Connie Brown's book about Fibonacci, she only puts her fibs on from highs to lows. She doesn't do them the other way, whereas I do them both ways. I think the Fibonacci Queen does them both ways as well. So if we look at this and we say, okay, from the big December 2017 high to the December 2018 low, we reversed to the 61.8. We bounced very nicely with a triple bottom off the 38.2, and we're holding underneath this 38.2, and we should go at least halfway back of this move. So this still says stuck at resistance, but looking to push higher, hopefully, unless we reverse. For me, a reversal, I wouldn't be looking at a reversal unless we traded back underneath this 200 moving average. What I like is that our 20 moving average is about to cross, and so it's lots of kind of good bullish signs for me. But we've got above it before, we've held above it, and we've come back. And so for me, everybody used to asking me, how should I short Bitcoin? How should I short Bitcoin? Well, we've got this sideways range. Clearly, if we break underneath this sideways range, and we break underneath now this hourly 200 moving average, that would be a bearish reversal. This 200 moving average on every time frame is a really good indicator of trend on whatever time frame you're looking at. So on this hourly, when we look at this 200 moving average, if we dropped underneath this, I would be short. But I would also be very well aware I would look initially for 50% of this low to high, because that's a very common place to stop. So if we stopped at 50% back, so my first short target, if we broke here underneath 9,200, would be 8,914 on this index, because not only is that 50% back, but that's kind of where the 200 moving average is as well. So that's my first, that would be my 8,914 would be my first target. I would also go all the way from this low to this high and do the fibs from this. And if we look at that, we'll make it a different color. And we'll look for the 236 fib of this. And that's kind of almost in the same place, isn't it? So that gives us a support zone. So 8862. So in this zone then would be my first, if we do drop down, that would be my first short target. And if you're looking for a pullback long entry, that's where I would be looking to buy it. So for me, my trading plan here is if this sideways range breaks down, I've already taken half off. I will de-risk a bit more. I'm probably going to still, all the time we're above the 200 moving average, I'm still going to hold some Bitcoin, okay? But if we drop down below this sideways range on the hourly, I am going to de-risk, take some more off, and then wait and see what happens here. And if we get a really nice long setup here, and by a long setup I mean a nice double bottom, some kind of bottoming pattern, a low time frame moving average crossover, I will buy it back again. If we don't and we crash through and back underneath this zone, back underneath the 200 moving average, and it becomes resistance, then I'm going to sit on my hands and wait, because what we could end up with then, if I take these away, what we could end up with is kind of a bigger inverted head and shoulders, not that deep, but we'll probably come back to this, you know, daily 50, something like that. Somewhere around these lows, we could see an inverted head and shoulders pattern or something like that, because we shouldn't underestimate this kind of 9,400, 9,500 is a pretty big level if we look left on our screen. So that's my trading plan for Bitcoin. I'm definitely buying dips unless we get underneath the 200 moving average, in which case I'm going to sit on my hands and be patient. And that's where I am. There are some really bright, so again, while we're doing this and we're going sideways, there are some really good things going on out there. One of them is Ethereum, which is an hourly buy for me right now. It's, yeah, it looks like we're starting a new upswing in Ethereum US dollar. Here on the daily in Ethereum, I've put my fibs on from this high, June 2019, to the low, December. We're above the 236 fib. We're above the 200 moving average. We're above these previous, you know, there's all these lows we got through eventually. And my target, my next target's up here. There is kind of a little pivot level here through the middle. And there are a few things, like I like this chart because it's bullish, but we should be aware of a few things around here. So first of all, these lows and these highs were a little bit tricky. And we're underneath those, so that's okay. And the other thing is, it's not very good for it, but this CCI is suggesting a little bit of bearish divergence. Whenever I think I've got a bit of bearish divergence, I take a look at the RSI, because that's my favorite thing to look at it on. And if we put the RSI on, and we ditch that, we do have a little bit of bearish divergence we need to work off. And bearish divergence is when, and remember, RSI is based on closing prices, so you connect the closing prices. So we've got higher highs on our chart, and we've got lower highs here on the oscillator. Now, sometimes you can go sideways and you can work that off, and then eventually the RSI goes higher and it's made a higher high and we're all good. But sometimes it warns of a bit of a pullback coming for that to happen. So potentially we could see a little bit of a pullback. Are we at a short-term level? I'm always from corrections looking for like 1.618 or 2.618 of the last swing. You know, if I'm looking for levels in between of bigger levels, and that's kind of where we are. From this swing, we are at the 1.618. So although my target's up here and higher at 210, this is a level where, combined with the bearish divergence and the 1.618 extension, where we could see a little bit of a pullback to test support before we go higher. So does that mean we should just sell because it's all? No, we shouldn't, but we should keep a hold of our profits. So if we look at this next leg beginning here and we can't make a new high, or we make a double top, or we get up there and stall, or we make it worse, we get a swing failure pattern, that would be, for me, a sign to probably, if I was long ETH, take a little bit of profit off and wait and see what happens. There are, you know, if we take a look at ETH Bitcoin, and we always want to know, you know, is you always, when you're looking at whether I should buy a coin or not, it's not just about whether it's doing well against the dollar. If you're going to spend your Bitcoin on it, you want to make sure that it's outperforming Bitcoin. ETH Bitcoin is absolutely ripping it since we got above the 200 moving average and out of this wedge. I've got two targets for this, so we're going to do this two ways. First of all, if we measure from here to here and we project it from this low, the 61.8 of this worst swing, which would suggest we're still in a correction, is here around 21,300, 21,400, and the equal measured move is at 24,000. So this is hopefully our target if we make a big ABC, and that's where we're bearish. And that lines up with this big spike low from back in December 2017. So that's a pretty good first target. in ETH Bitcoin. So I think even if ETH US dollar stalled a bit or did a shallow pullback, as long as we were still going up in Bitcoin, you're increasing the number of Bitcoin you have. And so unless this reverses or everything collapses, I would hang on. The best thing about this ETH Bitcoin chart is it's a really good proxy for, if we go to a monthly chart, it's a really good proxy for altcoins. So when altcoins are dying, ETH Bitcoin tends to go down, and when altcoins are rallying, ETH tends to rally against Bitcoin. So this is why it's a kind of really good proxy or an indicator for an altcoin season. Litecoin's quite good for that as well, but I think ETH is the best. So I'm really liking ETH, and I think if we do stall here, any pullbacks we get will be a buying opportunity, and if we don't stall here and we work off this potential bearish divergence, we're going to keep going till 210 next. So looking all good in Ethereum. Next one we're going to look at is ADA. I'm going to look at ADA against Bitcoin because pretty much everything is kind of creeping up against US dollar. But it is important that whatever you're looking at is creeping up against Bitcoin as well, right? So here, we were in this sideways range here for a long time. And then little by little, we broke out of this sideways range. So let me move this down here. Oops, I'm still in drawing mode. Hold on. Okay, so first of all, from this last swing lower, we got stuck for a long time at 50% back, which is usually the sign of a correction. We got stalled and we got stalled and we had a false breakout and stalled, and then again, and then here we had, and then we kind of moved our game up and we got to the 61.8. Hurrah! But we still came all the way back down, which was really frustrating. Now I feel like, and corrections normally, I kind of feel that corrections normally will reverse somewhere between the 38.2 and the 61.8. And then once you go beyond that, you can kind of prick your ears up and say, okay, maybe we'll do a harmonic pattern, which we would have stalled us at the 786 here, and we've gone beyond that. And then we've got the 886 fib last, that's where we couldn't get above. But if we get above that yesterday, I think that we're on track for new highs and carry on higher. And then I'm going to take, so we're almost there, aren't we? Last line, I'm just going to draw it. And I'm going to take these fibs away, because then I think we're going to look for the bigger swings. And instead of just looking for this last leg lower, we're going to look at this big 5-wave last leg lower, and put our fibs on like this. And then our target becomes up here, the 236 fib at 764. So looking pretty good. It's like a little staircase, isn't it, in ADA? You climb, so each time we do this, each time we pull back to a low and carry on higher, you should not always expect corrections to be 3 waves. So like here, 1 A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, and then we made a new high. And here, A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, and then we made a new high and up the steps. And so when I look at this, there's a potential that we haven't done that, so that we could go A, B, C, before we carry on. So if we don't make a new high, watch for that. But if we drop back underneath our hourly 200 moving average, which every time we've done a deeper pullback has been support, then I would say that the short-term uptrend is over in ADA. So looking good. And looking good for 764 next, hopefully, if I've measured it right. So there we go. Liking ADA a lot. Jonathan, I saw your comment about the 61.8 and Bitcoin. I will cover that again at the end. We'll recap Bitcoin at the end. Okay, so ETH is massively outperforming Bitcoin. So is ADA, so is Litecoin, so are quite a few. What we've tended to see before when Bitcoin has rallied is the bigger altcoins. So, that used to be kind of coins like Monero and Dash, and they would outperform first when Bitcoin stalled. So Bitcoin would have a big rally, then it would stall, and then the bigger altcoins would rally, and then they would have a big move, and then they would stall, and then the kind of love would spread out into the slightly smaller altcoins, and that way until we got to the little tiddlers, and then eventually everything had a rally, and we'd go back again, and then Bitcoin would rally and Big Daddy would flatten everything. So that's kind of the pattern I think we're seeing, you know, the bigger altcoins, the EOS. EOS is now, you know, one of the bigger ones. Those are the ones that we're seeing trying to make moves at the moment. And then hopefully we'll start to see the love spread out a bit. So the next one we're going to look at is Litecoin. Litecoin dollar, and then I'll look at Litecoin Bitcoin. Litecoin dollar is in a really good place. I like this as it's not really a very good inverted head and shoulders unless we just take it from here, because I like them when the left shoulder and the right shoulder kind of have symmetry. I think they tend to work better. But anyway you kick it, you know, we are above the 200 moving average and beyond the 236 fib from the high in June, and so on our way higher again. But just like ETH, we've stalled a little bit here. I don't think that there's bearish divergence on this one, but you know, it's just a little bit of sideways before we carry on higher again. So just like Bitcoin in that respect, whenever I see a double top in any market, I always think, I don't think, oh, reversal, I need to short it. I think, oh, we've stopped going up for now, and then let's see if we'll go down. So here we made a little ABC. Here's our low. Here's the low of our sideways range, a little bit lower, like this. And you know, if we did that, the first place I would then look for is this previous swing low, the 200 moving average, and then I would say probably below there we've got a reversal. But I would certainly de-risk, you know, if we started making lower lows. For now we've just got a sideways range, and I'm hoping we break higher again in Litecoin US dollar. If we look at Litecoin against Bitcoin, because you really want to know, you know, that this is outperforming Bitcoin if you're going to spend your Bitcoin on it. And if we go to the daily, we've got the same lovely moves, but we can see the reason why we stalled here when we look at Litecoin against Bitcoin, because we've stalled at this previous high, the last kind of big swing. This is the one that reverses the daily trend. If we say our downtrend is lower lows and lower highs, here's our last lower high. If we take that out, we're back in uptrend again, isn't it? So it's just a support. I shouldn't say just a support resistance. It is a support and resistance level here that we've paused at, and potentially it has the power to send us back and retest this 200 moving average before we go higher, which is at 68.80. So again, sideways. Let's see if we break out of this sideways range to the upside or the downside, and I don't know which. I guess if Bitcoin makes a big move, it could potentially send Litecoin lower against Bitcoin. But you know, I feel like all of these charts, you know, they all look kind of really good, but just not quite enough. Like, we're not quite enough where we've taken the risk away, that we're not just going to collapse and fall back underneath those 200 moving averages. You know, you see so often on a chart, let's go back and look at this. You'll see quite often, you know, at a 200-day moving average, you'll have a little bit of a fight and you'll go back and forward, you know, through it. And here people were going to go, oh, are we going up? Are we going down? Is this an ABC? You know, until you kind of get your groove on and you make a new high. And so I feel like we're kind of in this place, not quite sure what we're going to do. But in the end, you know, this was a lovely head and shoulders bottom, wasn't it? So keep the faith for Bitcoin. So yeah, Litecoin, dollar, Litecoin, Bitcoin, I really like. I think, as I said last week, I think we're getting into a phase where Bitcoin Cash SV had its big move. There was all those reports about how many wash trades there are in Bitcoin Cash SV. That was horrifying. So I think that we're doing a nice little flag consolidation up here in Bitcoin Cash BCH ABC. I think, but this one is gonna get ready to outperform BSV. So if you've made a bunch of money in BSV and you like Bitcoin Cashes, then this one, I think, short term here and long term, is about to break higher. Hasn't quite done it yet, but when I look at this daily chart of Bitcoin Cash BCH, I think we're about to break out. So let's go down and look at this on some lower time frames. Remember, this is against Bitcoin, so if it's outperforming Bitcoin, it's worth spending some of your Bitcoin on. So far, so good. The problem is, sometimes in these positions, sometimes they become big triangles, A, B, C, and so instead of being 3-wave corrections like this, they become 5 ways. You think this is a descending channel? Like this, David. Okay. Yeah, it could very well be a descending channel like this. And the 2 channels parallel, if I draw them parallel, you're right, it could be. In which case, sometimes you look at it, right, and you think, this is an ABC. We should be done with our correction, but sometimes it's just the first leg of a bigger one. So this is A, big B, and then big C. And I actually think B legs are the hardest to read of all of them. So I'm going to say, if we break from this tight little wedge here to the upside, it's probably not a descent. We're breaking out for sure. But if we don't, and we roll over and we break these lows, or we break underneath, you know, short term, like back under this low again, I'm going to say that we could see it very easily another leg lower. And this is just A, B, C. And if we did that, if I measure this high to this low, from here, the 61.8 would put us down to 0.037. And an equal measured move would put us down to 0.33. And kind of 50% back of the drop. That would be quite something, wouldn't it? If we drop down there, let's see, we're halfway back. Oh no, 61.8 even. So now sometimes with these, we've got A, B, C down, and we've got, I think this is A, B, C up, but what if it's not? What if this is A, B, and we're doing C, and then we drop down, in which case, you know, we'd be looking at something like this. So let's see. So BCH, Bitcoin, I'm waiting for a breakout. Do I think it looks good against US dollar? Yes, I do. But I wouldn't probably spend my Bitcoin on it until it broke out, and it was for sure ripping against Bitcoin. So here, if we look at it, this is Bitcoin Cash, US dollar tether. We're sideways at these highs at the moment. This is a daily chart. I think this is ABC down is finished. And if we make a new high, we can look at fib projections from here. So we can look for the 1.13 and the 1272. Okay. But at the moment, we're going sideways in what I think is a little, another high and tight flag, if you like, or a very narrow sideways range. This looks to me like 5 ways up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm hoping, and sideways correction, and then carry on. But let's see. At the moment, we're stalled at the 886 fib. So if we apply some fib rules here, and we break down underneath the 786 fib, which we'll draw in, our target's the 50%. And that means here, unfortunately, that we are. So I'm thinking in BCH that we could see another. So this is our first leg lower, ABC up, and then we'll see another leg lower to 351 before we can go again. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so we've had one leg down, A, B, C, and we'll do another one. So 351 is where I would be looking for a pullback to hold if I was going to be buying some BCH. Otherwise, 236 fib, and we'll catch up this for our 200 moving average. So could go either way. Break higher, have new highs, happy days. If we break lower, look for 351 and BCH US dollar tether. So that's that one. Next one we're going to look at is Dash. I like Dash because it has a real use. Whenever you hear about stress in Venezuela, you hear about people using Dash to hedge against currency, currency devaluation, and so on. But that doesn't mean after a spectacular rally, which it's had, it's not going to do a bit of a correction. So that's what we're seeing. So the key question here, now I'm going to put regular candles on, is our correction complete, or have we done one leg lower, A, B, C, and now we're going to see another leg lower? And so, if that's the case, again, we'll have to look at lower time frames, because if we do continue lower here, we're going to retest 95 and Dash US dollar. Now, I'm going to take these fibs away, and we're going to look at this on a lower scale and see where we are. Because, okay, this is our target down here. If we keep dropping, or if we kind of drop lower from here. So we'll put fibs on from this high to low. I'm not sure what color this is. Let's make it a bit darker, 61. Okay, so nice and simple at the moment. We're just doing that golden ratio zone thing. Okay, that's where we're, you know, reverse at a 61.8, support is at the 38.2, and look, we've gone twice now in this zone. So between the 61.8 and 38.2 is called the golden ratio zone, and it's where often the bulls and the bears fight it out. You know, that you're completely neutral in this zone. It honestly could go one way or another between the 61.8 and the 38.2. The only thing I would say is this level through the middle of 50% is very often a very good pivot. So if you can say, well, if we're underneath it, we're bearish. But if we get back above it again, we're probably going to the top of the range. So we've got double top here, kind of a rounded retest. So we have a spike and then a rounded retest. And then these are our lows down here. And so I would say I'm pretty neutral, dash US dollar. So if it's not going up against the US dollar, then it's probably not that cool at the moment against Bitcoin either. So I'd say we need to wait in dash. Again, a bit more information. So dash Bitcoin, we've stalled at the 50%, come back 50%, and yeah, we're just pausing. Is the correction over? Don't know. Let's see. Do you know, I would feel much more comfortable buying Dash after a retest of the lows. This just looks a little bit bear flaggy to me. But I'm open to it going higher if it breaks these highs. So I would say neutral, and we've been in neutral, you know, for 2 weeks. So at some point it's going to break one way or another, but not at the moment. I'm long-term bullish, and I'm a little potentially short-term bearish Dash. Definitely long-term bullish. So let's wait and see on that one. Monero, this one everyone wants to know about. Privacy coins, and which I can understand. So we're going to start off looking at Monero against Bitcoin, because, you know, if it's not doing better than Bitcoin, why would we buy it? That's really what we was going to say, right? Let's get rid of some of this mess on my chart, which there seems to be a lot of. Okay. So I'm looking, I've got fibs here just from the last swing lower, this high to this low. And for me, like this 236 fib is the confirmation that in fib terms that you've reversed the trend. We've also got a little bit of a nice descending channel here in Monero. Now, doesn't quite, like, there we go, that lines up a little, there we go. On the highs here, I've connected this high and this high, and we're just trying to break out above it, as well as this 236 fib. We're already trading above the 200-day moving average. There's so much to like about this chart and its potential upside, you know, from here. But I'm always like, okay, what would it look like if we're wrong to be bullish here? Well, it would look like an ABC equal measured move correction, wouldn't it? So if this is our first leg, A, B, then and projected from here, this was the ABC, and we've gone beyond it. We're at the 1272, so it's not super bullish yet. So that's not that. So I'm going to say now, I think, you know, it looks quite good, but if we got back underneath this 236 fib again and this double top high here, that would be a false breakout in Monero, Bitcoin. So back below 8,063, and I'd say on a daily close, that would be a bearish reversal for me. And as long as we stay above this level, I'm going to look for 9,342 next, which is these big highs up here and the 38.2 fib. I really like this 236 fib. I feel like we confirmed it with this ABC, and so looking good. So short term, we're going to look for 8,063 to hold on any pullbacks here, and if it does, then I think that gives you a really nice buying opportunity. So Monero Bitcoin, it's outperforming Bitcoin, so you know it's going to be outperforming the US dollar, and I like it a lot. Yes. Okay, next one we're going to look at, because I'm going really slowly tonight, I need to speed up. And next one we're going to look at is Wanchain, which is a little coin. Here's Wan. Okay, this is Wanchain against Bitcoin. Especially with these tiddlers, there's no point in buying them unless they're outperforming Bitcoin. In this one, from this high to this low, I'm trying to catch the lowest low. I think it might be here. I'm looking for where the 236 fib is. I think it's here. So 2,913. So a close above 2,913. That would be our bullish breakout for Wanchain against Bitcoin. Had a really lovely move, but you know, we've been in this sideways range before, and we've failed here a couple of times before, so we need to be a bit careful. So at this point, if you haven't got any Wanchain, this is not a good place to buy it. We've got an hourly double top, so now we're going to go sideways for a little bit, and we're either from there going to drop down, or if we break above this level, then the entry you want to be looking for is a pullback that holds above this level. Now it might not come that far back, it might, you know, go a little bit further and come to here, but your pullback is what you want. You need to hold above this level to confirm you're going higher, and I can't read it, so I'm going to put it on the right, and we'll see what side. Right, 2913. Okay, so potentially at resistance, and that's true of so many of these altcoin charts that I look at. They look so good, but we're not quite over the hump yet, you know, so getting there. The Daleks, I'm gonna, if they could make a note, we'll do ZEC at the end. Thanks, Polly. We will add it on the end. Okay, so that's Wanchain. We're going to look at TRX next. I know, please don't send me messages saying it's a shit coin. You know, I think a lot of them are shit coins, but they go up and they make us money. So I'm not going to diss anything here. Now, very often, so, you know, when stuff is in a correction, I'm going to clean up my chart here. When stuff is in a correction and you're looking for it to go far higher, very often if it's just a correction, so for example, if you sold this really bearish reversal candle here, if it was just a correction and it was going to go higher, you would look for it to stall at 50%. It's just one of those levels. So from this high to low, if I mark this, you can see here, 50% is where we stopped. If we look at this swing here, if you were shorting it trying to sell this, 50% is where we stopped. And so the reverse is true when you're trying to buy it. If you buy it here, having done a pullback, if we're going to fail anywhere, it's going to be this 50%. And so that's where we've kind of got stuck. It's also a really good, strong support and resistance level. So like Bitcoin, it's stuck at a strong support and resistance level. And potentially, you know, if this is just going to, look, if this is just going to go up and then another one, this is one of those levels. So 210 is your level to beat. So if you're trading this short term, okay, and you know, you think you like the look of it and you think we're on the move up higher here, which, you know, we could be very shortly. If we fail at 210, you need to get out of the way because we still haven't broken out. And if you want the conservative entry, you want to get above this level and then buy the next pullback, and then that's you in. So Tron Bitcoin at the moment, I like everything about it. I like the I like how we're holding above the 200 moving average. Normally, when you get your moving averages bunched up like this and you do break out, you get quite a strong explosive move. So I think if we get above 210, that's what we're going to see. Where are we going to go? Well, I'm going to go to the weekly chart here for this. Here on the weekly, got regular candles on, zoom in a bit. Okay, from this high to this low, the 236 fib lines up with these lows here, these weekly lows here. So this becomes kind of quite a strong, kind of no-brainer target zone, doesn't it, here, around here. These lows then, and the 300. So 300 to 306 is the big 236 from this high to low. And then after that, I would, honestly, I'd move it all the way up. And then my second target would be all the way up to, you know, this 236 fib, which lines up with the, so this first 2-3, and this is quite interesting. You know how we project from corrections. So when you want to project from a correction, you put your fib on from high in an uptrend. You put your fib on from high to low, the correction, okay, and then you look for, I customize all my settings on TradingView, you look for the extensions. So this is the 1.618, this is the 2.618 I'm looking for, and funnily enough, the 1.618 lines up with our first target, that short-term 236 fib, and these previous lows, and the 2618 lines up with this second target, the bigger 236 fib, which is at 360. So 290, then 360, 300, really 290, 300, and then 360 for the two targets on the upside. If we can break above 210 in Tron. If we can't, because if we look here, we've got the weekly 20 moving average here as well. If we can't, and we fail and we roll over here, this is just another leg in the down, and we're going to go A, B, C, and then we'll turn up again in a bigger pattern, so we have to be patient. So 210 is pretty key for TRX. Next one we're going to look at is V-Chain. V-Chain had a much bigger pullback than I was expecting. Let's look at this daily chart. So we made our first target, second target didn't happen, so we'll take that away. So here in this big downtrend in V-Chain against Bitcoin on the weekly chart, we can see where the support and resistance was from this spike low and this rounded retest of that spike low, and this big from all-time highs to all-time lows, this 236 fib. We couldn't get above it, it's at 106. So if we rally again and we try and get higher from here, that's going to be our first hurdle, or our first target at 106, and then above there we're going to look for these next highs and the 382 at 150. So 100, 150, kind of round numbers. If we look at where we pull back to, was it a nice 50%, make it simple? Wasn't quite. I think it's the 61.8, but that's okay too, because it is the 61.8. Let's go down to the daily. 61.8 and the daily 200 moving average. That's okay, because we know in this golden ratio zone between the 61.8 and the 38.2 how the 50% level in the middle is very often a pivot, and we can see on these prices and highs and lows that that's also true here. Low here, low, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days it was the low, it was the high that we couldn't close above when we tried in the middle of January as well. So our short term bearish resistance is at 72. Above 72, we're going to look for, and we'll be above the 250 moving average, all of our daily moving averages, and we're going to look for a retest of 106. And then above 106, we can look for 150. If we can't get above 72, we're still in this downtrend and haven't finished. That's the story for V-Chain. So nothing wrong with buying it counter trend before we get above there, but just realize what it's going to look like if it fails there. So here's an hourly chart. Let's put this on like this. It's looking all right to get there, you know, but so let's see if we had a little bit of a pullback here and a head and shoulders. That would be nice, wouldn't it? At the moment, we've got an hourly double top. What does that mean? It just means that we've stalled. We had a double top here, went sideways and retested the lows, got a double top here. We might retest these lows. We just need to be patient, okay? Leon. Okay. Thanks. Join my group. If you want to listen to me every day, I actually do this every day in my strategy group on Facebook. I know Facebook's not cool for kids, but the stuff we do there is good, and we have a good chat room too. Okay, V-Chain. We've done V-Chain. Komodo. Let's take a look at Komodo. I love Komodo. I've been a Komodo fan for such a long time, and it's depressed me a few times. I'm going to clean up my chart and start again so we can explain why we are looking at what we're looking at. So, you know, here we've been in this, we couldn't initially, okay, we rallied and we couldn't get above this 236 fib. We didn't quite tag it here, which is interesting, did we? And then look, we had this monster spike on the 3rd of December. That the high of this spike was exactly that 236 fib. Well, there's no coincidences, are there? So we can say we failed at the 236 fib. Either that, you know what happens when it does that? It's because everybody knows about that fib level now, and they leave orders there to sell. Profit taking. So it's come all the way back. So now that we're looking for signs of a bottom, we're looking for, you know, a pattern to tell us we've made a bottom. So far we've got a nice little higher low. Now we need a higher high. That will tell us that we're going up. So here we need to get above this high and above the 200-day moving average, and so on and so on. This is a really good sign because we are above the daily 50 moving average for the first time. That's usually going to give us quite a strong move. Now, if this is not a bottom and this is just a wave 4, like, or something like that, then this will fail at the 200 moving average in an ABC pattern. So it will fail or will stall at 791. Okay, that's where we've just gone ABC. So that's, if you're long or you're buying it on an hourly, that's going to be your first target, 791. And so if we look at it on an hourly, you know, we buy a little, we get up in the morning and it's had a nice little pullback, and we say, oh yeah, we'll buy that, thanks, when it turns up again. Happy days. So 791 is where you'll fail if it's bearish. And if we go beyond and close beyond 791, then we can get excited about an uptrend. And we'll put the 236 fib going on this way. Let's see where that is. Might be, the 236 fib will be before then, but not that close. So we said 791, didn't we? And 778 is where the 236 fib is. So if we get up there and we do a little pullback, that's where we want to see support, don't we? Okay, so that'll be good. 778 is not only have we've got to close above 778 as well. We'll do that at the end. We'll talk about coins of the day at the end. You know, there's a few candidates, you know, when you look at some of them and what they have the potential to do, if we can, I just feel we're in a little bit of a stall phase at the moment, but yeah, okay, let's carry on then. Surprised nobody wanted to know about IOTA, because I think IOTA's going great guns anyway. So we've done, okay, what coin did we just do? I'm losing my, I'm so hot and I've got my throat is so sore. No, I want to know what coin did I just do. I think I just did Komodo because I love Komodo. I did just do Komodo. Closing above, okay, it's really positive. Now, where would be bearish and wrong to be bullish here? I think if we close back underneath that daily 50 moving average, when you get a close above a daily 50, you should really hold above it if you're going to keep going higher. And so that daily 50 moving average here, let's see, is 707. So if we close tomorrow back underneath 707 again, I'm not going to be so bullish. There's 707. So I would mark that as my support. And you shouldn't, if we're going to keep going and retest these highs, we shouldn't go back underneath 707 in Komodo. Okay, next we're going to look at EOS. EOS is a whale of a coin now, isn't it? Now, this is doing what you want to see in an uptrend, okay? In a downtrend, you have sharp moves that consolidate, then you have a consolidation and a bounce, and then you carry on lower. What we want to see now that we hope we're going up in EOS is sharp moves up and then consolidation sideways like this. For some reason, EOS doesn't like, is stuck at this level. So then you kind of go, well, let's look at our fibs going the other way. Because for me, this is on the weekly chart, if we fit it in, from this low, all-time lows to all-time highs, this is an 886 fib reversal. So if we get above the 786, which is the fib here, our target's the 50%. So the meat in our trade, if you like, is from here to here. Or we could say above the weekly 50 moving average, we're looking for 50% back of this all-time high to low, which is at 12,600. So we've got a little bit, you can see these lows here, we've got a little bit of resistance from this low. Maybe we're struggling at this low. Let's move it down and see. No, we're not quite there yet either. So that's going to be a bit of a level, isn't it? So let's see if it's maybe the 236 fib from this high. Not quite there yet. This 236 lines up with that. So, you know, I can't find a reason for us to stall at this price, EOS Bitcoin, but we are. Maybe the reason is on the EOS dollar chart. So here we go in a sideways range in EOS. We need to break out of it to the upside for our next leg higher. So we need a little bit of patience. The problem is when it does this, this looks like A, B, C down and then B leg, and we may still need a C leg just like everything else. So we may need to see a bit of that before we get going again. I love how we're holding it up but above on top of the previous range. I love lots to like about, there's lots to like about this chart. There's no doubt we can say that EOS is outperforming Bitcoin and has been, you know, really since the start of the year. And we should look for it to continue unless it gets back under the 200 moving average. So I think buying dips in EOS with your Bitcoin will get you more Bitcoin. And your first target should be 58.50 EOS Bitcoin. So let's look at EOS dollar and see if there's a reason here why we've stalled. And there's a much bigger level here, isn't there? Let's put regular candles on. A much bigger, so like Bitcoin, you know, with its support and resistance levels. You're probably going, oh, you're making it all fluffy. I'm not trying to make it all fluffy. I'm just trying to catch as many. You see, sometimes it works on the closing prices. You put them on the closing prices and that's where your support and resistance comes from. But clearly this previous high anyway, and this backtest of this 61.8 is causing an issue. Let's do the fibs the other way. No, okay. Sometimes stuff just stores and you don't know why. So let's just do one more thing. In fact, no. Okay, let's say that EOS hasn't finished going down and that we, now sometimes this happens, right? So, you know, you're kind of looking for 5 waves down for us to say that it's finished, right? So you say to yourself, well, what if this isn't 5 waves down? What if this was 1, 2, and this is still 3, and we're doing a 4 and a 5? Well, the most common retrace of a wave 3 is 38.2. So I'm going to go from this high to this low, and then here we are at this 38.2. So then you think, oh, you don't really want to fail here because we might see new lows in EOS. And this is 1, 2, 3, you know. So I'd like to see us push above 4.25 and this high if we can. Certainly we're not rolling over here yet, so I'm not too concerned. And at the moment I'm going to say, you know, like Bitcoin, we've got a little bit of we're trading at new highs. We're consolidating above previous highs and, you know, a little bit of a bullish flag pattern that I think when we finish should carry on higher. You can see bearish divergence here on the CCI. When you can see it on the CCI, it's going to be glaring on an RSI. So let's take a look. Relative strength index. Okay, and so here we can see we are making higher highs on the chart, and we're making lower highs on our oscillator here. I'm working off some quite overbought conditions for EOS, and we kind of need to work them off again, and the RSI needs to come back at least to 50% in the middle, I think, before this will be a good buy again. You know, it's funny how the 50% level, or in the midpoint of the RSI, often works as a support and resistance. In an uptrend, you'd look for it to come back to the 50% and then carry on higher, and in a downtrend, you'd look for it to come up to the 50% and then turn lower again. So potentially this stall could, if this bearish divergence plays out, see us to a bigger retest here, and you know, potentially back to the 200 moving average and back to these prior lows. So let's see. Daleks, okay, I haven't done BSV. Sarah, I think I may have missed BSV. I've gone out of turn, so here after EOS I'm going to go back and do Bitcoin Cash SV. I did do it. My mistake. So here's, we'll do BSV Bitcoin and then BSV US dollar. So one of the reasons why, you know, we had this massive spike move in BSV. We went all the way, gosh, quite a few, like beyond, you know, and we've come all the way back. Very often after you've seen a really big move like that, it can take the market a long time to find its kind of balance again before we can start trending. And so what we're not doing is we're not trending at the moment. We really are. Oh, Casey, thank you so much. What we're not doing at the moment is we're just going sideways, you know, and I think we've got a little bit of a triangle pattern going on here like this, and that means that we're hopefully bouncing off the lows of our triangle pattern. But if we don't, and this is in fact a declining wedge, as somebody pointed out, then it's going to look like this. We know we're still off the lows, but you know, we're flat. These moving averages are flat. Do I think that we're in a short-term upswing? So when you're, you know, when you've got flat moving averages like this is a 4 hour, you really don't have anything except a sideways range. There is no trend. So when you've got a sideways range and flat moving averages, you try and buy the bottom of the range and sell the top of the range. So when we get up here again, if we do rally from here, this will be a third touch of a trend line, which is very often a false breakout, and then it'll stay within. So we need to be a little bit careful. But at the moment, I feel like we're just drifting. And so let's see. Are we going to drift down to this 200 moving average, you think? You see, we've already done, if this is a correction, we've already done a perfect ABC equal measured move here. In which case I would look for this to carry on grinding slowly. We might see, you know, a little bit of a retest of these lows and the 200 moving average catch up. And then when we meet here, we'll hopefully be ready to go again. But, you know, when you see sharp moves, consolidation and down in here, sharp move, consolidation only halfway back, I do think that we are potentially going to retest these lows in BSV before we go higher in Bitcoin. So that's against Bitcoin. We're not going to outperform Bitcoin in the short term. Let's take a look at bigger picture. Oh gosh, this is like the very this is a 4 hour chart and there is no trend. There's no trend. We've got a equal triangle pattern. So this is classic indecision. Now, if you put a gun against my head and said, would I rather be long or short here? I would rather be long. And the reason is I think we've bounced off the bottom rail. And so the likelihood is that we're on our way back to the top rail again. But I don't like the shape of this. So I wouldn't rule out a swift little, mean little fake retest of the lows, you know, something like this. So I'm neutral, BSV, I'm afraid. A bit like BCH, I'm neutral, both of them. Is BSV the one that has the halving before Bitcoin and BCH, or is it the other way around? I think it's BCH that's going to be first, isn't it? And then Bitcoin and then BSV. I need to remind myself. Okay, sorry, yeah, very bullish flag pattern, but it could take a long time before it's ready to go again in BSV Tether. Okay, gonna go back now. We've just done EOS, so now we're gonna look at BLZ, BlueZell, which is a funny little, another funny little coin. I think this was one of those anyway, that guy's pump coins, wasn't it? Okay. Look at AI on. Nobody wants to talk about AI on. Okay, sorry, I'll shut up. Okay, it's not here, so I seem to have lost my chart, so we'll go back to and look at BlueZell Bitcoin. Okay, so we've been in a very long downtrend in BlueZell Bitcoin. I need to move my lows down here, and I need to move these lows down here as well, okay? Because they just give us the short-term 236 fib targets. So the first thing, let's zoom all the way in, because we want to go, are we looking at potentially a bottom here? Well, potentially. My favourite bottom would be an equal double top, or a swing failure pattern, which is where we drop underneath and we swing sharply back up again. But at the moment, this just looks like a lower high. And when I see it look like a lower high, I'm always like thinking, make sure this is not just going to be one of those little equal measured moves, and then down we go lower again. Because the equal measured move here is 223. So I'd really like to see the daily candle close above 223. At the moment, we're right on it. We could go either way. When I look down here, we're in a little bit of pullback. So this is our support. We want it to hold 223 on the close. And then I think I'd be much happier about buying this to go higher. If it closes under there and it closes underneath that, even worse, back underneath that daily 50, that would be quite, yeah. It would not. It would just say, look, we made this is an ABC correction we made here. Had a couple of equal measured moves, and you could see it, and then we carried on lower. We could just be looking at that pattern again, and that wouldn't be fun. I mean, I'm feeling quite optimistic. I think I can count 5 waves down, so we should see at least a nice big 3-wave correction. But yeah, this is going to be one of the ones I'm going to look at in the morning and say, did we really close above this daily 50 moving average? So one other way would be the 236 fib, wouldn't it, from this high? Got a way to go till we get there. That's at 248. So our first target is 248, I think. Then we'll see how we go from there. Then the 200 moving average. Then these previous highs, and then we're going to look for. This bigger 236 fib up here at 619. So we've got a lot to do to turn this downtrend around. We're so close through this 50 moving average. See how resistance. The thing is that this time of night you can look at it and we've got a couple of hours and it can all just, you know, collapse again. So yes, close to a reversal in BlueZell. We've got a higher low, now we've got a higher high, so then we can buy the next pullback, and that would be good. So let's see. One to watch anyway. XTZ. How awesome is XTZ? Let's see. Now, I'm hoping. XTZ. Now, so I've drawn on this one. This is XTZ Bitcoin from the low here to high that fib retraces. We bounced from a 61.8, came back from the 38.2, bounced from the middle, we overshot a bit, that was a bit of a wobbler, and here we are back at 236, which potentially could be a bit of a level, you know, because these fib levels are like a staircase, you climb up them and down them, and so potentially 2166 could be one of those places we store. Let's put them on the other way and see whether it lines up with anything, and it does. It lines up with the 61.8. Let's put it on over here on the top. There we go. So from this high to low, this is the 61.8. So we know now our support is here at the 50%. If we reverse here, we don't want to close below 2025 or we'll come all the way back here and then so on. I don't think. So when I look at this on the hourly, you know, it all looks fine and trendy. It's just this is quite this is a much, I'd be a much happier if we you know, turned around, went green and closed back above this level here. I'm not quite sure we will, so I'm just going to say for XTZ Bitcoin we are at potentially a level where we could see a bit of a pullback, not a massive one. We're at what, 2100, we could drop back to 2000, 2025 from here, and below 2000 and I would probably cover my position and wait for a bigger pullback to buy it in this one. I might if I saw a reversal here on the hourly. At the moment, this isn't a reversal, is it? You know, we need to wait and see on the retest. The retest is the test. So here, if we get underneath this fib level and then we retest it, that's it. Then that's your sell. But for now, keep an eye on it because we have the potential to reverse here. Just like we did at this fib level. If we had got underneath that and then found resistance from it, that would have been what your sell setup would have looked like. So just a level to watch in Tezos Bitcoin. Now that doesn't mean that Tezos US dollar will go down, but let's see what's going on quickly. So I think some people trade this, don't they, against. Okay, so we have actually today reached, gosh, one of those big fib extension levels. So where's this 1.618? I can't believe I didn't have that on there. Okay. Okay. So I've drawn my fib, right? Remember, correction, uptrend from this high to this low. Okay, and so each of the levels through here you can see worked, and then we reached the 1272 extension. I'm going to say that this 886 and this previous high is probably where our support is now at 1.84. But what I don't like, what's a little bit short-term bearish, see this high here? Closing back underneath this makes this a big fat swing failure pattern where we've tried to make a new high and we couldn't sustain it. And so that could potentially set us back for a biggest correction back to the next support, which for me is the 20 moving average. And so it's just me. I just want to do one more thing. Ooh. Look how close that is as well to an A, B, C. So this is A, then we go B, and then C. Yeah. So this is why Tezos Bit. This is not a buy at the moment. I would say if you get a bounce in this one and you get a lower high, put your stop underneath, trail it up, and if it can't make a new high, I would take a breather in this one. I think that we've got a little bit over. Okay, I just want to put on the RSI because I think we might have some. No, that's okay. Okay, we're a little bit stretched, and I don't like us closing back underneath these prior highs in XTZ US dollar. I think if we do, that we could see a much bigger correction. So I would sell bounces and wait for a bigger correction to play out in XTZ US dollar. Time to get out. HBAR, which is Hedera hash graph. Let's see that one. This is a fun little coin. Okay, this has, you know, potentially turned the trend around, but again, we're testing the daily 50 moving average. That was resistance here and resistance here, and so that's kind of a little bit of resistance here too. And if we take these previous highs, no, let's not do that way. Well, that's also where our resistance is. So potentially we could see a bit of a setback here. The issue for me though with not closing above the 50 moving average is very often in between the 20 and 50. When you get stuck in between the two, you can see a lot of sideways back and forth between these two moving averages. This chart doesn't have enough history, so I can't show you. So that's what we might see. And unfortunately, even with this huge up day, normally, I would say on a huge ups day like this, 50% of this open close would be where your support would be. We can't measure it yet because we don't know what we're going to close at, but that's the first place that I would look for support, and potentially this previous high here, if that ends up being the middle. And the second place is we could, and below there, we're going to come all the way back to the 20 moving average. And so without closing above that 50, we could see a few days back and forth. So it's not quite a breakout for me. But a daily close above 162, that would be it for me. I think it looks good. Dalek says BSV halvening is before Bitcoin in April. Thank you. So yeah, looks like a nice bottom setting up, but above 169 is a breakout for Hedera hash bar, and we might see some consolidation before we try this again. Just watch out here. If we blast through it, then happy days. This level would be support. But let's see how we close and look at it again. Okay, BNB. BNB is one of those coins, isn't it? It could be end up being the Amazon of crypto. My partner James keeps telling me. Now, let's do a weekly chart. We'll start on this one. Okay. So remember that thing about fibs being a staircase, they become support, then resistance. So I've drawn my fibs in Binance Coin Bitcoin on the weekly from the full lows to highs, all-time lows to highs here. And this is how these fibs have played out. The 236 fib was weekly support. The 382 was weekly support, then resistance. The 50% was weekly support here, then resistance. And now we've double bottomed at this 61.8 level. That's a good sign. We've stopped going down, but the top of our double bottom range is this 50. So our first target on the upside is going to be back to 24,146. I'm just going to put them on the right so we can see them on a lower time frame. So looking good for a bounce here, and this is where we're headed to. So lots to like here. We had a double bottom, and we had a nice swing failure pattern. False breakdowns of very powerful reversals, all looking good. Bullish cross of our daily moving averages, all looking good. We're going to look good to buy pullbacks and climb our way back to the top of the range. So would I buy it right here? I have to say, does it have the look? Let's see. Yeah, you know, I might. It has the look like it's got three waves of correction. We're just having a little bit of trouble getting off the bottom here, aren't we? Not quite. And it's one of those looks, you know, if we're going to just do an ABC and we fail at the 50%. Okay, so if I bought it here, because it looks kind of good, like it's trying, I would make sure that we kind of go beyond that measured move level and beyond 20,050. And then if we start seeing some impulsive stuff, I would hang on for the ride and next leg up, hopefully for BNB. So I think it has a lot of potential. And then on the daily, midway through our sideways range is the 200 moving average. So that would be next, like 21,900, and then 24,150 is our resistance that we have to beat. So how does BNB look? So BNB looks like it's going to crawl its way higher against Bitcoin. So it's worth investing some Bitcoin maybe in this one. Let's take a look though against Tether. Make sure we're doing the same thing. We're kind of trying to, aren't we? Where does this sideways? Yeah, look at this. Such a sticky price range, this, isn't it? Four days sideways. It's not the fastest moving coin, is it? And you know, look, whenever you see double top, it means you've stopped going down, up for a bit, and you're going sideways. So we're sideways. Here's our double bottom, sideways. I would wait for a break of this sideways range, and that would tell us next leg higher is underway. So I'm a bit neutral BNB at this point, I'm afraid. I don't see any reason for it to sell. In fact, I see lots of reasons to like it. If we stalled at this 200-day moving average, I might not like it so much, but let's try the fibs going the other way and just make sure. There's our problem. It's that 236 fib again. Okay, that makes it nice and easy. A daily close above 18.597 and we're in the next leg higher. And then we can look for 22.6. So that's our problem. This 236 fib that we're stuck at. So that would be a breakout then for BNB against US dollar Tether. And a really good look. Okay, we're going to look at LSK, Lisk, and then Leo. Okay, so I actually really like this Lisk chart. I think that we're not stalled at an important place, but we're stalled at a kind of a temporary resistance. From this low to these highs, there's a bit of a sticky level here around 1100, and we're going a little bit sideways at it. But this looks like a little bit of an ABC pullback, and we're on our way higher again in Lisk Bitcoin, and we're going to look for this, 50% next to be our next target. And then I'm going to say if we can go beyond the 50% of this last swing lower, which comes from the July highs, we're going to look for the bigger 236 fib up here. There's lots to like about this. We're above all of these moving averages. We're above this bottoming range, like, loads to like. So let's see how this 4 hour, if it looks like it should look. Kind of. This is one of those annoying things. Okay, so when you look at it and you think, oh, yeah, there's my ABC correction and we should be on our way higher again. Sometimes they don't make a new high. Sometimes they just stall and you think, oh, what's going on? Or they'll go all the way up to the highs and then it just ends up being the start of a bigger correction. So A, B, and then C. And then what we would see then is we'll come back and we'll test this really big important level before we go higher again. So I'd be a bit cautious piling in here. Let's go down to an hourly and see if the fib patterns tell us anything, or a harmonic pattern or something like that. There on the hourly, it's that damn 61.8 that we just can't seem to close above, doesn't it? Every rally has got stuck at this 61.8 level. So it comes to the 38.2, sometimes it comes back to the 236 fib, then it goes up again. And so your first warning that we're really going to be on our way, I think, will be like an hourly close above 1152 in Lisk Bitcoin. And for now, sideways. So buy the lows, sell the highs until we break out, or sit on your hands in Lisk. On the daily, loads to like. We just want this correction to be over and then we can be on our way up again. But we might come back and test this big support and resistance level and the 200-day moving average before we go up. So be a little bit patient in Lisk Bitcoin. Now, if we're doing that and we're trading above the 200-day moving average against Bitcoin, then they know the dollar chart's going to look good, and it does. But look, we're a little bit toppy. We've been sideways for 5 days, so wait for the breakout. That's all we can do, I'm afraid, in Lisk. And so this is another one where, ABC can't rally beyond, and we just do another leg. So there we go. 618 from here. Again, that's where we keep getting stuck at that 61. So a close above 1.092 in Lisk dollar, that would also be a good sign. So sideways, still in a correction, waiting for the correction to be over and the uptrend to resume for Lisk. Next one we're going to look at is Leo. Crunk, kaplunk, what happened in Leo? Now, I'm just going to take that away for a minute. So here in Leo, this is a weekly chart. We made a new low. And this little line here is in fact our new candle, which hasn't gone anywhere. So these lows, even if we measure from this low, last week's candle closed underneath this low. Did we bounce from a good enough fib level though? When I put my fibs on from this ABC, if I go that way ABC, it looks like we did. If we go that way, yeah, we closed underneath it, and the 113 is a little bit lower. So it needs to do something really special to tell me that this is, kind of over. The downtrend is over, and I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to use this as this level here and these lows. That's going to be our line that we need to recover if this was just a false breakdown and we're going back up again. So we're going to call it 97.93. Whilst we're underneath that, for me, against Bitcoin, I'd rather be in Bitcoin. I just don't see. We could just very easily rally up here, hit resistance, and carry on lower to the 1272, maybe even the 1.618. So still in a downtrend against Bitcoin, and I don't see any reason to sell Bitcoin and buy Leo yet. Let's take a look at Leo against the US dollar, because people who are holding Leo might want some good cheer. And when we look at this chart, there's a lot to like, Bullish cross of our daily moving averages. Nice consolidation. We just need to break higher for our next leg up. So are you losing money sitting in Leo? No, you're not, but you're not going anywhere. And there's missed opportunity costs here. But yeah, if you've got a bag of Leo, it is starting to make the signs like it could go higher yet again. But we're not out of the woods yet. So not yet for Leo. We'll look at it again in a week and see where we are. Let's take a look at Raven next. Another cool little coin. Well, the chart's cool. Please don't take this as investment advice other than what the chart looks like, okay? You have to do your own research. Okay. So, in Raven Bitcoin, every time we got down to this 290, 280 level, out came the buyers. Every time, pretty nicely. And this time, for the first time since, gosh, December, back above the 50 moving average and challenging the 200 moving average. That would be a really good sign of a base. But you know what the best one would be? I'm afraid it's that 236 fib, and there we're above it. Now we haven't closed yet. It would be a disaster for Raven Coin if we closed back underneath 317. But if we can hold above it, it should become support for us to try again and get above that 200 moving average and take it on. So far so good. Is this a nasty equal measured move? It could turn into one, couldn't it? Until we close above 331. So we need to be a bit careful and make sure that this support at 317 holds. So if you're long and it comes back underneath there, get out of the way, okay? If you are, and wait and see what happens. If you're waiting for a pullback to buy it, I would say 317 would be the level that I would be looking for, and below 313 you're wrong. So you can do it with quite a tight stop. So there. So 317 ideally was where you want to buy Raven coin. That's not right. And under 313 you're wrong. So that's where your stop should go underneath. So when we look at this daily, and then we'll see if we can have another go at this 200-day moving average and then get going higher. So yeah, positive signs. If we get above the 200-day, we're going to go back to the top of this range, hopefully. And that puts us all the way up in the 450s. And then our big deal, first 236 fib level, is at 611. So getting above the 200-day would be a big deal. We could see a really decent move, but we're just not. It's like all of it. This is what I mean about Bitcoin. Everything looks so positive, but we're not quite there yet. Okay, I'll try and do Loom at the end. Could you pop in the kitchen and get that drink for me? Thanks. Drink. I made it. I left it in there. Thanks. I made a drink, left it behind. Okay. Here's my water. Okay. I've done Leo, Raven, Atom. Little Atom. Got Atom Dollar. I'm going to start with Atom Bitcoin, because it really is important, you know, that if you're going to spend your Bitcoins on something, that it's going up against Bitcoin. Now in this, I drew my fibs. Okay, this is regular candles. Atom, this is Atom Bitcoin. I drew my fibs from this high to this low, and not from this high, because when I draw them, I'm always looking for a reaction at the 236 fib, and that tells me if I've drawn it right. And when I drew it from this high, sure enough, I got this 236 fib reaction. The 38.2 was messy, but this 50% was classic double top here. 61.8 fibs are always messy, but we're in that golden ratio zone again, between the 61.8 and the 38.2, and so our support is down here at the bottom, now that we're underneath the midpoint. Also, this is our support, because if we make an ABC measured move in Atom, and I line it up, it's a little bit lower. We're not quite there yet, 4457. So that gives us our support zone here. So see this little bear flag? We can see, I think that that should break lower, and that we should find support somewhere between 4,300 and 4,400. I haven't looked at ETC Voodoo, no, but I can do. It's quite a good looking chart, isn't it? So a little bit lower till potentially we find support in Cosmos Bitcoin or Atom Bitcoin. Does that mean that Atom's not going up against the dollar? No, in fact, Atom could be going up against US dollar. It's not really, it's kind of sideways, isn't it? In a nice uptrend though. But I think that not quite ready to turn higher again yet in Atom Bitcoin. So that's what I'm going to be waiting for. It's not Atom's turn for the love yet. A lot of people ask me about MATIC because the nasty sell-off didn't scare them, and MATIC does look like it's turning up again. And the funky thing about MATIC is all the big, this is MATIC against Bitcoin. We bottomed at a 786 fib level. I drew it from the low in August to the high that we made in December, okay? And when you bottom at a 786 fib level, your target's back to the 38.2 if you get above the 61.8. So on this long, we're looking for the top of the range in the 61.8 level at 268. And if we get above it and can hold above it, by that I mean get above and hold it like we didn't manage to do here, then our target is going to be up there. So the trade is between these two. And underneath is kind of counter trend. So be careful and MATIC, but it does look like it's turning up again. There's some pretty good looking chart. AI is so on fire. Okay, so we're going to look at ZEC next. Do some requests. Poly. Let's see if I've got it open. I don't think I have every page open, but quite a lot of them. Some people said they couldn't watch the videos because they had OCD looking at all my charts that were open. Okay, so this is ZEC Bitcoin. We're going to start with the weekly chart because we've had quite a nasty now. Okay. People ask me about fibs and how you derive fibs. Okay, the 786 is the square root of 618. The 886 is the square root of 786. So if you want to know, can you squeeze an extra fib in between the 886 and the previous highs or lows? Yeah, you can, and it's called a 942. But it has to be a really wild chart for the 942 to hold. And in this case, in ZEC Bitcoin, that's where we found support. It's a little bit funky, but when you reverse here, so the same rules apply. You have to get back above the previous fib level to confirm that you've reversed, which it looks like we've done, which is 6889. And then our target, gosh, is all the way up here at the 61.8, which is 22,638 in Zcash. So this little level that we're at now is key. We tried it on the 17th of January and we couldn't get back up, couldn't hold it. Here we are, and we look like we're holding above it. So remember, the key thing when you get above, and this is what I draw all the time, is you've got to get above it and hold above it. So far, so good. Can I... I'm not changing my chart background. Oh, well, I might, but it's going to take me a bloody long time, and I'm not doing it while all these people are watching. So we're not doing it tonight, no. So this looks really good. The problem is when you break above a level, to be a not false breakout, you know, if it goes up and then it just sits there and the buyers don't come in to take it higher, usually it's a big it's a big flashing warning to me. I need it under, you know, so we need to hold above 6889. If we can, I'm going to buy the dips, and I think ZEC Bitcoin is all good to go. Now, there's another way to look at this. We could take these fibs off, couldn't we? And we could look at the short-term 236 fib levels. The problem is that this has fallen so far, you know, you can't really, it's a bit, it's not helpful to draw a fib from there. So we're going to take the last 5 wave swing, which I think I'm going to take from this big correction. And we'll see how these fib levels help us with what we're doing. And they actually are quite helpful. Sometimes you can go straight through a level that you're expecting to be resistance, and it'll be support instead. So for me, this holding this 236, this is just as valid, and this 38.2 now is just as valid as well. So 7,096. So I am looking for this to hold and go higher. And if we climb the stairs in these fibs, then we're looking for 8150, 9203, up to these previous highs and so on. So looking good. In terms of moving averages, this is just a little, it's all looking good, but as you know, what if this correction isn't over? What if this is a big A, B, C? You know, we have to be really patient and make sure it breaks higher. Otherwise, we could come all the way back here before we get ready to go again. Okay. Hope that's helpful, Polly. I like it, but I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable when this little tiny little flag thing here breaks higher instead of lower. And that would say that this is not just a big fat correction. Because look, this could be A, B, C, and then we've got A, B, C, you know, so. New highs would get us out of trouble for sure. That's what we need to see, new highs. And then we're out of trouble. I haven't done Link yet. Hello, Andrew. I'm going to do Link now. Ta-da! You're in luck. I kind of dread the people asking for Link, because Link is one of my favourite ones. It's one of the ones I look at all the time. But I'm really undecided. about where we are. Because I find that this, look, let's take a clean chart. We'll start again, okay? So we'll take a completely, this is Link Bitcoin. Don't ignore what that says up there. And let's go to a weekly chart. Because we're trading within these big swings, okay? Now, there's a couple of ways you can look at this. So you say, well, this is our correction and there's this new upswing. So we've gone 1, 2, and now we're going to go up again. Or is this just a bigger 1, 2, 3 and, you know, not yet? And the problem is, we've now gone, look at these tiny little doji candles. We've gone 3 weeks now in a really narrow range, not kind of really doing anything very exciting. And not unfortunately, well, it could be if we rallied quickly from here. We could maybe call this a continuation head and shoulders pattern. So if we break above these highs, that would be a good look for a long for Link against Bitcoin, wouldn't it? And we'll move it a little bit higher and we'll call that 61.8 fib level, which is at 31,885. We'll call that the neckline, okay? So above 31,885, that would be a good look for a continuation head and shoulders pattern higher for Link. So short term, if we see a little buy entry here, which we could be setting up quite nicely, like if we, you know, I would buy it up if we broke above this 50% again. I would buy it back to the 61.8 and see what happens there. So back above 30,400, I would buy it and then see what happens at 31,885, and then above there I'm going to get excited because then it's the head and shoulders pattern, and then with the head and shoulders pattern you go twice the distance from the neckline. That's your target. From the neckline to the, from the head to the neckline, you should go twice the distance. So that gives us a target up here of new highs, 40,000. Hooray. So that's one way to look at this, but another way, like, let's take those fibs away and let's just say, actually, if this is a little channel, or if we're going to build a flag or something here, a breakout of this channel, that would be another good way to look at it. So patience, sideways consolidation. I like the chart, otherwise I like everything about it. I would, you know, I think we might have to watch out what happens on this trend line up here. But yeah, that's going to be what's going to trigger me long for Link at the moment. It's a little bit quiet and not much momentum. And there's nothing worse than putting all your money in something that then doesn't go anywhere. It just kind of sits, and then you're spending mental capital, aren't you, watching it, wondering what it's going to do next. Okay, and then we're going to take a Loom, and then coins of the day. I'm going to be really cautious on coins of the day. And the reason is, I just think that I haven't done ETC either. I need to take a look at Loom and ETC. I just think we're not quite over the hump. There's quite a few. Let's go. Loom. If I've got it okay, maybe here. Yeah, I will video. I will go to ETC and basic attention taken as well. Sorry, didn't see this. So Loom, lovely uptrend in Zoom. Okay, so this is today was a massive counter trend move. These are all the previous lows. Let me move them all down. I haven't moved them all down, and here we go, like this. Okay, and the reason that this purple one is important is it's from this high to this low. So in fib terms, the 236 fib is what we've got to get above to reverse the trend. Do I think that we will? I think it's really likely. I think that these previous highs through here, and there's like a support and resistance level, or we can see all the way through here, that's going to be a much more likely place for us to store lows, 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 highs, highs there. So 259, and then the 200-day moving average. would be where we would look next if we can close above 240. But then we're going to look for our bigger fib levels. There, these lows. Okay. You see, at the moment, this hasn't quite done enough to flip the downtrend. It's really positive that we're above the daily 50 moving average, and as long as we stay above it, I'm going to look for this to keep going higher. But yeah, there's just little resistance zone. I think it's a great opportunity. I would like to look at this next week, if somebody could ask for this next week, because if we could have another big week up and get above here, then we can look at, you know, let's see. If you want to jump in now, this level that we're kind of hanging around at, 240, we can get back above that tomorrow. I think that we're in a really good fighting form to go higher in Loom Bitcoin. So looking really positive, but just not quite over the line for me yet. Good luck though, really. Let's see where that 50, then the next place that we might see. I'm just gonna, yeah, see these highs here? Highs, highs, highs. 50% from this high to low. If we get above this 236 fib, I think that this will be a wobble level, so will the 200, but that would be my target for sure. 312 above 240. And Ethereum Classic. Okay. Every time I look at this coin and how well it's doing, I have to laugh. Honestly, what is the purpose? What is the real world use of Ethereum Classic? I mean, don't answer this on a sheet of paper, okay? Really? Okay. Now, I'm going to go to Bitcoin first, because if it's not going up against Bitcoin, you don't really want to buy it. And let's see which one has the longest history. Probably not Coinbase. Binance, there we go. So I hope you can see this. Let's put it on a weekly chart so we can for sure see this. Okay, and we'll put regular candles on. I know it's orange, but there we go. So where's our trouble area always in terms of fibs? Okay, from this high to this low, we are stuck in Ethereum Bitcoin against this 236 fib level. We are also stuck underneath major support and resistance from these two big lows here and this spike high. So this is a very sticky zone, if you like, that we're in Ethereum Classic against Bitcoin. So whilst the US dollar chart looks really enticing, doesn't it? It makes you want to jump in. This chart says to me, you know, I don't think I really want to spend my Bitcoin on Ethereum Classic unless we can get above 12,000 or really 13,000, 12,750, 13,000. So that's the sticky point. And then when I look at the daily, yeah, it is a little bit sticky. We've double topped here with a little bit of a swing failure pattern, and now we've just tried it again today and got knocked back here, as you can see, and it's looking a little bit bear flaggy, isn't it? So spike high, rounded retest, and now a lower high. So if this breaks down and you've been long Ethereum Classic and this breaks down, it's time to go back into Bitcoin, okay? Because it's going to have a bigger correction. Probably back to the, at least down to these previous lows and this 200 moving average here, which is normally the daily 20 moving average. Let's go back. No, a bit lower, okay? So be a bit careful in Ethereum Classic. It's at major resistance against Bitcoin. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't keep going up against US dollar, but it does mean that you'd probably be better off in US dollar. I'm just going to look at Tether, Binance, because it's got the better history. Here we go. If we go to the weekly. Okay, so here, now, we've talked about this before on smaller time frames. 50% back is a very common level for a correction. And if I look at Ethereum Classic Tether here at Binance, we're at that 50% level. It's not a strikingly major support and resistance, but it is that previous spike high and we are struggling a little bit to get over 12.0327. So this price action here is not, it's a little bit, you know, okay, I tell you what's scary about this is when you have corrections, markets that go to 50% one way, they tend to correct. Mean reverting markets keep mean reverting. So that would mean 50% the other way. So that would mean from the lows to the highs. Our target, if we reversed here, would be 50% back the other way. So we'd be looking for 8.11. Now, the trigger, so if you're looking at this as a short setup, so if you say you wanted to short this, your short entry would be if we break the 236 fib, okay? So underneath 10.63, you've got a short setup down to these previous lows at 8.11. That's your short meaty trade here, okay? Okay. Okay, my coin of the day, this is so bad, is a coin that nobody asked for. Okay, and it's ICX. I think ICX is doing all the right moves. This is the short-term low to high. This is a no-brainer target up here, the 50% at 5651. So I think a pullback long entry in ICX is probably another one. This is another one that's just broken up. It's just rolling over. Had a big move above this 236 fib today. I think this next dip in ICX is going to be a really nice long entry. And again, I'm looking for 5.6. So I can't see very much that I want to buy tonight. The only one that was saying buy me right now when we were looking at them earlier was ETH. And ETH, you know, is definitely outperforming. But let's go back and look at what happened to our hourly breakout. It hasn't really gone anywhere yet, has it? In fact, it's coming back again. So, yeah. But ICX is one of my favourite charts that people haven't asked for, and I think it's just about to get going. It's got more to go. So ICX. I also like IOTA. Nobody asked for tonight. That's a good one. Can I look at Aglo? Yeah, let's take. I haven't looked at that chart before. There's so many coins. I just got to get a drink. My throat is so sore. I think I'm getting coronavirus. Can you catch coronavirus from a Chinese takeaway? That might be me. No, you can't. No, you can't. Oh, Algorand, yes. In fact, I've got Algo somewhere. Hold on. Hexchan. Hex, you mean Richard Hart's coin? Hex? Okay, let's take it. We'll have to look at that. I haven't even been looking at it. Is it too young? We will take a look because it's, you know, interesting. Okay, here we go. Algorand. Here we go. Here's Algorand. Now, this is against the dollar, and this has got a really nice look against the dollar. Like, I have to say, if I zoom out and put my beer goggles on, this looks a bit like a bear flag. But the thing with the bear flag is, you know, there's got to be a couple of legs. And if this is one, we could easily see another one before we go lower again. So, you know, are we heading up? Are we above all of our moving averages against US dollar? We definitely are. Let's take a look at this against Bitcoin, though. Make sure you want to spend your Bitcoin on it. Let's see what we got going on here. Looks like we're starting move. Now, this is what I like. I do like a double bottom or a look like this. If we look at this as a weekly, this would look like here, a weekly swing failure pattern and a couple of, you know, a doji, a pause doji, an inverted hammer, and then a bullish hammer. So this is a, in terms of, this says buyers here and a swing failure pattern on the weekly. So looking good to go higher in Algo Bitcoin. And our confirmation that we've turned this around was going to be 29.81, which is where that 236 fib is. So if we're going to stay in our sideways range, then 29.81 is where we're going to get stuck. If you're looking, you haven't got any algo, where are you going to buy it back? should hold above this 20 moving average, so around here. So 27.50. So if we go to our hourly chart, obviously we look like we've got a parabolic move going on here. But if we were to come back towards these previous highs, that would give you a nice long entry. And above, again, 29.81. So you really need a pullback. It doesn't look like it's going to do it, does it? But if we get up here and we get a little bit of a pullback, that would be a nice long entry. Otherwise, we're going to have to wait and see what happens at this resistance. If we go above it and find support, that would also be a long entry in algo. There we go. Okay, let me see where. Let's see what's going on with this hex chart. Okay, I'm not looking at the right chart, am I? Oh, thank you, Jacob. No, we're not, but it's all right. I'm going to look at I honestly, I've got a sore throat, but I'm planning to die tomorrow, not tonight. So we'll look at Ripple before we go. I think we'll look at Hex next week. You know, I kind of don't like it. I don't know. I'm on the fence, right? I'm on the fence with this one. Did I talk about ZRX? No, did I mention I love ZRX? I love ZRX. ZRX Bitcoin right now is stuck. The Chinese takeaway was my birthday. No, it was Friday night. That's about right, isn't it? Yeah, I've got coronavirus for sure. Okay. I'm going to look at Ripple. Ripple alert. Now. Okay. If anybody in my group was looking at this, we would all go, oh, this looks like a really nice buy. I did do Monero. It looks like a really nice buy. And it's it's even giving a little bit of a pullback for us to get in here. So if we do this and then we have a little pullback here, that would be perfect. Ripple does look like it wants to go up short term. Let's see though where we are on the daily and what's going on. Because there's a few things to like here. We talked about this in the group this morning. There is a few things to like. First of all, since the beginning of November, we've been stuck underneath this daily 50 moving average here. Here, and we closed above it. Not only that, but today we back tested this daily 50 moving average and found the buyers there. So lots to like about this. In fact, this here, I'd love to see this move higher, break higher from this consolidation. Because when you get above the 50 moving average and the sideways move like this, your target's back to the 200 next. And from this high to low, we go more than the 236 fib, we can say we're back in uptrend, back above the 200, more than the 236, everything would be great. So 2803 would confirm the move, and then above 2900 up it would go. I know, don't be the first big one, I'm joking. James had this sore throat last week. Everybody I know has got this sore throat. It'll be all right, don't worry. So yeah, I'm a little bit short-term bullish Ripple, but it has to do a little bit more to turn it around. The problem with Ripple is, it'll go all quiet on you and then it'll just bloody take off. So if you don't actually have a little, or you don't have a really good alarm set, it will just go without you. So let's fix that. Now I'm going to put an alarm, so I'm going to connect these. I'm going to put an alarm on that trend line. If Ripple decides to make a sharp move higher, I'm going to catch it. Now, Dog wants to go out, as usual, so we've been going too long. Let's take a look at basic attention token, which I think it's not here. Maybe I'm drunk. Even Doge looks good tonight. There can't be. No, I'm not drunk. I'm sober. Right, basic attention token. Here we go. This is Baker's Bitcoin. First of all, what I like about it is I like how we're bunching up, but we've got a really tough sideways range going on here. We've got a triple top, a double bottom, flat moving averages, so we have no trend until we break out of the range. I'm pretty confident we're going to break to the upside, and the reason is I think we've made a very nice ABC correction here, and you can see this is a dead equal measured move where our double bottom is. And so for me, if we get above this level here in the middle, which is at 2,618, I'm not even going to wait, I'm going to do it that way. Above 2,618 for me is a pretty nice bullish trigger. I love it. I think we're going to start our next leg higher. Now, when we did this before, no coincidence, there are no coincidences, we failed at the 236 fib. Look, from this high to this low, the 236 fib is where we stopped, and the daily 200 moving average. Now we've got the 200 moving average supporting us. This time I think that we'll blast through this 236 fib, but we might stall again. 3,417, then it's going to be our first target. But then if we measure from this low to high, like this, let me put it from here, like, I think it's going to be here probably. You can see that 618 of this first swing gives us a retest of the highs, and then 4,089. But really, if we're really bullish, we want to see this next leg be 1.618 of the first leg, and that takes us all the way up to 5,200. So let's look for a retest of the highs first, 3,417, if we can break this wedge to the upside. And with this ABC correction, I think it looks really good for it. So actually Thursday was my birthday, the 30th, but I was too tired to celebrate until Friday. And then of course it was Brexit Day, and I had all these fireworks. And you know, I live quite isolated, and I only really have one neighbour, well, a couple, and I found out that they were real Remainers, and so I thought they might get really offended if I let my fireworks. I was home alone all weekend, and I thought they might get really offended if I let my fireworks off at 11 o'clock. So I have still got my fireworks. I haven't let them off yet. But yeah, I did have a Chinese takeaway. Yeah, you can see I lead such an exciting life, don't I? When I'm staring at the charts all the time. Okay, so there, we've looked at everything. At the moment, and just to recap Bitcoin, at the moment, I think that this is pretty bullish consolidation, but we are at a tough resistance level, support and resistance and Fibonacci, and it may be that we need to dip a little bit lower to find the buyers to push us higher over the line at 9,400. And you know, the 200-day moving average at 8,800 is going to be really good support, and that's where I would be looking if we did dip down. So there we go. A little Zill. I keep thinking of those Russian cars when somebody says Zill. Okay, quick look at Zill. Okay. Okay, first off, this is just wanna quickly have a I like this. I think we've got a good shot at another run up to the top of the range and above this time. Every other time we've bounced this time, the 200 moving average has been so far away because we fell so hard. We didn't have any support to fall back on. This time, if we can get above the 200 moving average and we go back to the highs, we have got some support we can lean on, and that will hopefully take us higher this time to the big 236 fib at 116, because that would be our target, if we can get above this 200 moving average, our target is up here. And at the moment, you don't want to buy it because we're too close to it. You know, my CCI is all the way up here at 190. If I put an RSI on, we would see that we're already, you know, on the daily, right up there, 64. You know, we need a bit of a pullback to buy it if we're not already in it. So we're feeling bullish, but we need a bit of a... It's not a great entry, let's put it this way, is it? So we either need to go sideways for a bit or have a little bit of a pullback. This doji is a bit of a warning sign that maybe we'll see a little bit more of a pullback here in Zilliqa. So there's lots to like, but I'm going to like it loads more when we're above this. I'm going to put fibs on and see where the support might come if we do a pullback. And this is quite positive because it says that if we do pull back, then 64 would be where the support is. And we can stay bullish as long as we stay above 64. So, you know, that's where our fib level is going to be. And a lot, you can see like there's lots of support and resistance at this level, isn't it? Lows, lows, highs. So double bottom's very positive, and 64 is where our support is. So when we look short term, you know, it may be that we've done this and we do this, you know. Obviously, if we make a new high, and then I'm wrong and we're on our way higher and jump in. But it feels, you know, these moving averages are getting bunched up and flat, and that usually means a bit of a range trade before we go higher. Okay, I think I've done everything. All right, it's been quite a night tonight, hasn't it? Okay. I'm going to wish you all good luck. I'm going to say have a really good week. If I see something really interesting, I'll post a video on Twitter. And if you'd like to have a look at my strategy group and you don't like it, you get your money back. Can't say fairer than that, eh? Have a great week. Bye, everyone.